The jungle breathes with a quiet intensity as dawn's first light filters through dense leaves, casting shifting patterns on the forest floor. Mist clings to the air, softening every sound except the occasional bird call and distant rustle of branches. The hidden survivors, a small tribe nestled deep within this ancient wilderness, begin their day with cautious movements, aware that beneath the beauty lies constant danger. Before we step into their world, take a moment to like this story, share it with those who crave adventure, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of this unfolding saga. The fate of the hidden survivors depends on every heartbeat, and you're invited to witness their struggle firsthand. Kael, known among his people as the Quiet Tracker, slips silently from his hut. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scan the ground and the canopy above, reading the jungle's language that few can understand. Every broken twig, every faint footprint, speaks to him of movement and presence. His footsteps make no sound as he moves with the fluid grace of one born to the wild. The village stirs behind him, but today's calm is fragile. Livestock has disappeared, strange shadows have been glimpsed near the outskirts, and a tension heavier than usual weighs on the air. The elders whisper warnings of a creature unlike the others, a predator that moves not with brute force, but with deadly silence. It hunts in shadows, stalking the edges of their world. Kael kneels beside a patch of soft earth where prints are freshly made. The shape is unfamiliar, smaller than a tyrannosaur, but sharper, more precise. It's the mark of a hunter who understands patience and cunning. His fingers trace the outline as he imagines the creature's movements, its slow, deliberate steps, each one measured and sure. With a final glance back toward the village, Kael begins his pursuit. The jungle is both his ally and his adversary. He moves deeper into the thicket, senses heightened, every muscle alert. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and wild plants. Birds scatter at his approach, and distant calls echo faintly, but Kael's focus is unshaken. Each sound the creature makes is muffled by the dense undergrowth, but Kael has learned to listen beyond what is heard. He watches the bends in the river, the crushed ferns, the claw marks on tree trunks, piecing together the path of his unseen quarry. It is a silent dance of life and death, where one misstep could mean the end. As he follows the trail, Kael recalls the stories told around the evening fires. Tales of beasts that have outsmarted the tribe's greatest hunters, creatures that seem to vanish into thin air, leaving only fear in their wake. These stories are not just warnings but lessons, about respect, caution, and the delicate balance they must maintain. Kael knows the tribe depends on him. Without his skill and patience, the silent threat will continue to stalk their homes, taking more than just animals, perhaps even lives. His mind is steady, but inside, a fierce determination burns. This is his trial, the moment when all he has learned will be tested. The forest begins to darken as thick clouds roll in, shadows deepening around him. The wind shifts, carrying a faint growl that quickens Kael's heartbeat. He freezes, every sense straining. The predator is close now, its presence a whisper on the edge of hearing. Kael's breath is slow and controlled. He remembers the training of his youth, how to quiet the mind, how to become one with the forest. The jungle is not just a place to survive, it is a living entity, full of secrets and dangers alike. To master it, Kael must trust not just his eyes, but his instincts. A sudden crack snaps through the stillness. Kael moves swiftly, disappearing behind a thick tree trunk. His eyes catch a flash of movement, sleek, fast, and terrifying. The creature's gaze meets his for a heartbeat, glowing faintly in the dim light. Then it vanishes, as if swallowed by the shadows. Kael's pulse races. He knows this is no ordinary beast. It hunts with intelligence and patience, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The village is not safe, not yet. But Kael will not let fear rule him. He will track this silent threat to its lair, learn its habits, and find a way to protect his people. Tonight, the tribe will huddle close to their fires, unaware of the shadow closing in around them. But Kael moves forward alone, a lone guardian against the darkness. His footsteps are soft, but his resolve is strong. In the face of silence and shadow, he is the tribe's first line of defense. The jungle holds its breath as the chase begins. The village lay cloaked in the deepening dusk, shadows stretching long between the huts. A chill hung in the air, and the forest beyond whispered secrets carried by the wind. Inside the central fire circle, Lyra knelt by the sacred flame, her hands steady as she fed the fire with dry wood, coaxing its warmth to life. The glow flickered softly, casting dancing light across the faces of those gathered near. Before we continue, make sure to like this story, share it with fellow adventurers, and subscribe to follow every flicker of courage and survival in the hidden survivor's tale. The fire's light will guide us through dangers both seen and unseen. Lyra's role was more than tending flames. She was the keeper of an ancient knowledge, passed down through generations. The flame she guarded was sacred, more than mere warmth or light, it was protection. The elders spoke of the fire's magic, a power to keep predators at bay, to push back the darkness that came with night. Tonight, that magic felt more crucial than ever. The creature Kael pursued was still out there, lurking beyond the village borders, silent but watching. Lyra's chants filled the air, low and rhythmic, weaving words older than memory. She moved her fingers in careful patterns, tracing symbols that shimmered briefly in the firelight. The fire crackled and pulsed as if alive, responding to her presence. The tribe had learned to respect this ancient art, knowing that the flame was a barrier against the cold and the beast. Stories told of those who strayed too far from the light, who fell prey to shadows and silence. Lyra's fire was their shield. Beyond the fire circle, the jungle seemed to lean in closer. Leaves rustled, and distant cries echoed, reminders of the ever-present dangers. Lyra's eyes never left the flame, but her mind raced, thinking of the tribe's safety, the children's laughter that must be preserved, the future still fragile. She remembered her training, how the old fire masters taught that fire was living spirit. It required respect, attention, and balance. Too weak, and the flames would falter, leaving the tribe vulnerable. Too strong, and the fire could consume all, destroying the delicate harmony they sought with nature. Lyra rose, her cloak of woven leaves rustling softly. She moved to the outer edge of the village, carrying a torch that blazed brighter than the central flame. This was no ordinary light. It was a beacon of hope, a warning to any lurking predator that the tribe was watchful and prepared. The jungle shadows writhed as she passed, shapes shifting in the twilight. Lyra's steps were careful, but her spirit was unyielding. She had faced darkness before, times when the forest seemed endless and the threats countless. Her fire magic was her answer, her gift to the tribe and to the world around them. As she circled the village, the torch's glow revealed faint footprints pressed into the soft earth. They were not the prints of Kael's quarry, but something smaller, quicker. Lyra's heart quickened. The jungle held many secrets, some dangerous, others mysterious. Each sign could mean life or death. Returning to the fire circle, Lyra joined the elders who whispered of ancient warnings. They spoke of nights when the stars themselves seemed dim, and the beasts of the forest grew bolder. Her flame was their defense, their ritual woven into every heartbeat of the tribe. The children huddled close, eyes wide with wonder and fear. Lyra smiled gently, touching their heads with the warmth of her hands. Her fire was not just protection but comfort, a symbol that even in the darkest times, light endured. But as night deepened, the flickering flames cast strange shadows. Lyra sensed a shifting in the wind, a change in the air. The predator Kael hunted was near, and its patience was wearing thin. The fire's magic would soon be tested against a silence more terrifying than darkness. Lyra whispered a final chant, her voice steady despite the weight she carried. The flame flared bright, a challenge to the unseen threat. The village watched in quiet awe, knowing their survival depended on this delicate balance between light and shadow. Her gaze met the horizon where jungle met sky, a silent promise to protect her people with every spark and ember. The flame was their lifeline, and Lyra was its keeper, ready to face whatever came from the shadows. The night was alive with whispers, and Lyra's fire burned as a beacon of hope against the creeping silence. The forest hummed with tension as night settled over the hidden survivors. Torin stood tall at the edge of the village, the weight of his shield grounding him like the ancient trees around. His muscles coiled, every sense alert to the faintest crack of a twig, every flicker of movement in the shadows beyond the firelight. He was the tribe's protector, a steadfast guardian sworn to defend his people from whatever horrors prowled the dark. Before we step deeper into Torin's vigil, don't forget to like this story, share it with others who love adventure, and subscribe so you won't miss a single heartbeat of the hidden survivors' fight. Torin's shield was no ordinary defense. Forged long ago by the village's ancestors and blessed by the forest spirits, it carried the strength of the earth itself. The wood was tough as stone, the edges bound with sinew and hardened resin. When Torin raised it, the ground seemed to tremble beneath his feet, a silent warning to any beast that dared approach. Tonight, the air carried a heavy silence that was anything but peaceful. The threat Kael tracked still lingered, unseen but always present. Torin's duty was clear, to stand unwavering, to be the wall that no shadow could breach. As darkness thickened, the sounds of the jungle grew louder, distant roars, the rustle of leaves, the occasional snapping of branches. Torin's grip tightened on his shield's handle, knuckles whitening. His breath was steady, a slow rhythm that steadied his heart. He remembered the stories told by the elders, of great battles fought at the village's edge, when warriors stood shoulder to shoulder against monsters that could crush a man with a single swipe. Torin was their living legacy, the embodiment of that fierce resolve. Suddenly, a low growl rippled through the underbrush. Torin's eyes snapped toward the sound, muscles coiling like a spring. The predator had revealed itself, a massive shadow moving with silent power, its eyes gleaming like twin moons in the dark. Torin stepped forward, planting his shield firmly between the beast and the village. His stance was unyielding, a rock against the tide. The creature paused, measuring the man before it, then charged with terrifying speed. Steel met flesh as Torin raised his shield, absorbing the blow with a force that shook his arms. The impact was immense, but he did not falter. Instead, he pushed forward, driving the creature back with a roar that echoed through the trees. The fight was brutal. Torin's strength was tested with every clash, every swipe of the beast's claws. Yet his shield held, a barrier of courage and ancient magic. His every move was calculated, blending raw power with a skill honed over years of training. Around the village, the tribe watched in silence, their hopes pinned on Torin's stand. They knew his shield was more than protection. It was a symbol of their survival, a beacon of defiance against the darkness that sought to consume them. The battle stretched long into the night. Torin's breaths came ragged, his body bruised and battered, but his spirit remained unbroken. With a final surge, he struck the creature, forcing it to retreat into the shadows from which it had come. As dawn threatened the horizon, Thorin lowered his shield, exhaustion weighing heavy on his frame. The village was safe for now. But the threat was not gone. It had only been held at bay. Thorin's eyes met those of his people, a silent vow passing between them. He would stand guard as long as the darkness loomed, the shield-bearer unyielding in his duty. The tribe's safety was his life's purpose, and he would not fail. In the quiet aftermath, the forest seemed to breathe again, but Thorin knew the peace was fragile. The jungle held many secrets, and the silent threat was still out there, waiting. If you feel the weight of Thorin's shield and the strength of his stand, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The Hidden Survivor's journey continues, and every moment counts as they face the shadows together. The night pressed down on the Hidden Survivors like a living thing, thick and dark, filled with whispers of ancient dangers. In the center of the village, where the huts formed a protective circle, Lyra tended the sacred fire. Her hands moved with quiet purpose, coaxing the flames to life with gentle breaths and practiced gestures. The fire was more than warmth. It was a shield, a beacon against the creeping shadows and the beasts that lurked beyond. Before we dive deeper into Lyra's world of flame and mystery, remember to like this story, share it with fellow adventurers, and subscribe so you don't miss a single spark of the Hidden Survivors saga. Lyra's connection to fire was woven into the very fabric of her being. From childhood, she had been chosen as the tribe's firekeeper, trained in the ancient rites passed down through generations. The fire wasn't just a tool, it was alive with magic, an ancient energy that kept the cold and the dark at bay. Tonight, the fire flickered low, shadows twisting unnaturally close. Lyra's voice rose in soft chants, words older than the jungle itself, calling to the spirits that guarded their flame. Her eyes, reflecting the dance of the flames, held a fierce determination. The fire responded, burning brighter, pushing the darkness back. Around her, the tribe gathered, drawn by the glow and the comfort it brought. The flames cast long, moving shadows on the faces of the watchers, but none dared venture beyond their circle. The fire was their protection, and Lyra its guardian. She knew the dangers well, how the dinosaurs hunted in the night, how the cold seeped into bones, and how fear could consume even the bravest hearts. But fire was their answer. It was a weapon, a healer, and a symbol of life amid the wild. As the flames grew, Lyra reached into her satchel, pulling out herbs and powders known only to the firekeepers. She sprinkled them into the fire, watching as the smoke curled upward, carrying her prayers and protection into the sky. The scent of burning herbs filled the air, sharp and sweet, a reminder that this fire was sacred. Suddenly, a distant roar shattered the calm, the sound rolling through the jungle like thunder. The tribe tensed, but Lyra's hands did not waver. She fed the fire, flames licking higher, a warning flare to any who might approach. Her mind flashed to the legends told around this very fire, tales of warriors and spirits who had tamed the flame, using it to stand against monsters larger than any man. She was part of that legacy, the living link between past and present, human and nature. The firelight revealed more than faces. It showed the truth of survival. Without the flame, the village would be lost to the night, swallowed by silence and shadows. Lyra's role was one of responsibility and courage, a quiet battle fought not with weapons, but with light and faith. As she tended the blaze, she felt the pulse of the jungle around her, the rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs, the distant echo of heavy footsteps. The fire was a signal, a beacon that said, "Here we stand. Here we are alive." Her chants grew louder, steady and sure, weaving through the night air. The tribe began to hum along, a chorus of voices bound by the rhythm of survival. Together, they became part of the flame's magic, a force that held the darkness at bay. But Lyra knew the flame was fragile. One careless spark, one gust of wind, could snuff it out. And without it, the silent threat lurking just beyond the trees would grow bolder. Her eyes scanned the jungle edge, where shadows shifted and moved. The fire was their first line of defense, but not their only hope. She trusted the warriors, the trackers, and the healer. Together, they were the heartbeat of the hidden survivors. Tonight, the flame burned not just for warmth, but for hope, a promise that the tribe would endure, that light could conquer darkness, no matter how fierce the night. If you feel the warmth of Lyra's flame and the strength it brings to the tribe, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The Hidden Survivors story is just beginning, and every flicker of light holds a new secret, a new challenge to face together. The air was thick with tension as twilight surrendered to night, the jungle whispering ancient warnings through rustling leaves. Turin stood at the edge of the village, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the dying light. The weight of his shield rested firmly in his grip, rough wood carved with sacred symbols, a gift from the forest spirits who watched over the hidden survivors. Every scar on his skin told a story of battles fought and won, each one a testament to his unyielding role as protector. Before we step into Turin's world, don't forget to like this story, share it with fellow seekers of adventure, and subscribe. The strength of the Hidden Survivors lies in their unity, and you're part of that circle now. Turin's shield was more than armor. It was a symbol of hope. Forged from the heartwood of the ancient ironbark trees, it had been blessed in secret ceremonies long before he could remember. The elders spoke of its power, saying the spirits of the forest lent their courage to whoever bore it. Turin believed in that power, not because of magic alone, but because it reminded him of the tribe's spirit, strong, unbreakable, and ready to stand against any storm. As night deepened, his eyes scanned the darkened jungle beyond the safety of the firelight. The silent threat had been stalking the outskirts, leaving broken branches and deep footprints in its wake. It was a shadow that loomed larger with each passing day, a reminder that their survival was never guaranteed. Turin's breath was steady, controlled. Years of training had taught him that fear was a tool, not a weakness. He felt it sharpen his senses rather than dull them. Every crack of a twig, every whisper of the wind became a message to decode. He wasn't just guarding the village, he was guarding the future of their people. The tribe looked to him not only for strength, but for calm in the chaos. When the hunters returned from the forest, weary and silent, it was Turin who stood between their exhaustion and the dangers waiting beyond the perimeter. His presence was a wall, both physical and spiritual, that gave the hidden survivors the courage to rest and rebuild. Tonight, his vigil felt heavier. The footsteps they had tracked grew nearer, the rhythm steady and deliberate, like a hunter confident in its prey. Turin tightened his grip on the shield, feeling the rough texture beneath his fingers. The stories told by the elders echoed in his mind, tales of warriors who had stood firm against beasts 10 times their size and survived. Suddenly, movement flickered at the jungle's edge. A pair of glowing eyes locked onto his, the predator revealing itself, a massive creature, larger than any they had seen before, muscles rippling beneath scaly skin. It crouched low, ready to pounce, its breath hot and heavy in the night air. Turin didn't hesitate. With a roar that echoed through the trees, he charged forward, shield raised high. The clash was brutal, the sound of impact shaking the earth beneath them. His shield absorbed the creature's first strike, splinters flying, but Turin stood firm. Every muscle screamed, every instinct fought against the overwhelming power before him. The battle was not just of strength, but of will. Turin's mind sharpened, blocking out pain and fear. He remembered the lessons of the forest, the ways of the animals, the rhythm of the earth beneath his feet. With a swift movement, he struck back, forcing the beast to retreat into the shadows. As silence returned, Thorin remained vigilant, knowing this was only the beginning. The tribe's safety depended on his unwavering defense, and he was ready to stand for them, no matter the cost. If you felt the power of Thorin's stand and the courage it inspired, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The Hidden Survivor's story is far from over, and together, we will face whatever darkness lies ahead. Night had fully claimed the jungle, but within the village of the Hidden Survivors, a soft glow emanated from Nyra's small hut. The faint flicker of candlelight danced over rows of carefully arranged herbs, roots, and leaves drying above a low wooden table. Nyra moved with gentle purpose, her hands steady and sure as she prepared poultices and balms. In this quiet corner of the world, she was the heartbeat of healing, the keeper of life in a place shadowed by death. Before we journey deeper into Nyra's world, take a moment to like this story, share it with those who cherish tales of resilience, and subscribe. Together, we nurture the roots of the Hidden Survivors. Nyra's knowledge of the jungle was vast and ancient. From the whispering leaves to the smallest creeping vine, she understood their secrets and their power. The jungle spoke to her, not in words, but in signs. A certain rustle meant a herb was ripe for gathering. A particular scent hinted at a root's healing strength. Her connection to the earth was more than practical. It was spiritual. Every plant was a gift, every remedy a bond between the tribe and the wild world that surrounded them. This evening, Nyra was preparing to tend to a fresh wound, a reminder that survival was a constant struggle. A young child, brave but careless, had fallen during a hunting practice, scraping his leg on sharp stones. The wound was deep enough to risk infection, and the jungle's humidity would only worsen it. Nyra worked quickly, gathering crushed leaves of the healing fern known to stop bleeding and applying a thick paste made from ground bark and sap to soothe the pain. Her touch was soft, but her mind was sharp. Healing was not just about treating injury, it was about calming fear and restoring hope. The child's eyes, wide with pain, slowly began to relax under her care. Nyra hummed a low, ancient tune, a melody passed down through generations, believed to summon the spirits of the jungle to aid her work. The plants Nyra used were far more than simple medicines. Some were known to ease nightmares, others to strengthen the body or clear the mind. The tribe trusted her because she treated both the body and the spirit, knowing one could not survive without the other. Her healing garden was a sanctuary, a place where the tribe could find momentary peace amid constant peril. Tonight, the air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and wild mint, plants Nyra favored for their calming effects. She paused to inhale deeply, grounding herself before preparing a potion meant to boost strength and sharpen the senses. This was especially important, for the tribe faced dangers not just from the wild, but from the unseen: poisonous plants, infected wounds, and the creeping dread of an enemy stalking their land. Nyra's role was silent but vital. While hunters tracked and warriors defended, she ensured life could continue. Her wisdom extended beyond healing. She advised the elders on which areas of the jungle to avoid, which rivers were safest to drink from, and when the tribe should move to new grounds. Her insights often saved lives, though her words were soft and seldom boastful. As she finished her preparations, a gentle knock came at the door. It was Eirik, the dream seer, his face shadowed by worry. He carried news of troubling visions, dark clouds gathering on the horizon, signs of a greater threat approaching. Nyra listened carefully, her calm presence a balm to Eirik's restless spirit. Together they stepped outside into the moonlit village, where the other survivors gathered, drawn by the urgency of Eirik's warnings. Nyra's eyes met each of theirs, her silent strength a reminder that healing and hope were as crucial as courage and skill. Her garden was not just a place of plants, but a symbol of survival itself, life thriving in the shadow of giants, nurtured by hands that refused to yield. It was here the tribe found balance, drawing from the earth's gifts to face the night's terrors. If Naira's quiet courage touched you, remember to like, share, and subscribe. The hidden survivors are bound by more than blood. They are united by hope, healing, and the unyielding will to live. Their story is just beginning. The moon hung low, casting a silver glow over the village of the hidden survivors. Around the crackling fire, the tribe gathered in quiet anticipation, waiting for Eirik, their dream seer, to share what the spirits had revealed during his nightly visions. His eyes, deep and knowing, reflected the flickering flames, carrying the weight of dreams that spoke of both hope and impending danger. Before we dive into Eirik's mysterious world, take a moment to like this story, share it with fellow explorers of the unknown, and subscribe so you don't miss the unfolding saga of the hidden survivors. Eirik was unlike the others. While Kael moved through the jungle with silent steps, and Naira healed wounds with gentle hands, Eirik walked between worlds. His gift was a bridge, connecting the tribe to forces unseen, to whispers from the spirit realm. Each night, he retreated beneath the ancient tree at the forest's edge, closing his eyes to journey beyond the waking world. His dreams were not idle fantasies, but visions filled with symbols and warnings. Some nights the jungle sang with life and promise. Other times it roared with threats yet to come. Tonight's vision was troubling. Eirik saw shadows moving like smoke across the land, beasts with eyes that glowed in the dark, stalking closer to the village than ever before. Eirik described the dream to the tribe in careful words, his voice steady but urgent. He spoke of a great dinosaur, unlike any they had faced before, one that would test their strength and unity. The vision showed it circling their home, its massive footsteps shaking the ground and breaking branches in its path. The tribe listened in silence, the firelight flickering across their faces as they absorbed the weight of his message. For the hidden survivors, such dreams were more than prophecy. They shaped their decisions, guiding where they hunted, how they defended, and when they moved. Eirik's role was a rare blend of mysticism and leadership. His visions did not guarantee the future, but offered clues, keys to survival that the tribe had learned to trust over generations. His dreams were like the jungle's secret language, revealing dangers before they arrived and opportunities hidden in plain sight. But the burden of such foresight was heavy. Eirik often woke from his trance shaken, his heart pounding with the urgency of what he had seen. He bore the weight silently, knowing that his calm could steady others in the face of fear. Tonight, after sharing his vision, Eirik urged the tribe to prepare. He advised Kael to sharpen his senses and to watch the jungle paths closely. He reminded Lyra to keep the sacred fire burning bright, a beacon against darkness. To Thorin he gave a nod of respect, a silent promise that his strength would soon be needed to stand firm. As the tribe dispersed, Eirik stayed by the fire, eyes lifting to the star-strewn sky. He sought clarity in the constellations, searching for signs that could help him understand the deeper meaning of his visions. The night whispered around him, carrying the scent of earth and ancient secrets. The hidden survivors trusted Eirik not just because of his gifts, but because of his unwavering dedication. His dreams bound them together, weaving a fabric of hope and vigilance that held the tribe steady in a world ruled by giants. If Eirik's journey into the unknown stirred your imagination, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The path of the Dream Seer is filled with mystery and courage, a vital thread in the tapestry of the hidden survivor's tale. Their fight to live, guided by visions and strength, is far from over. The jungle breathed a heavy silence that morning, thick with tension and the faint scent of crushed leaves. For days, The hidden survivors had sensed something lurking just beyond the edge of their village, an unseen danger stalking their homes, their families, and their future. The air itself seemed charged, as if the forest held its breath, waiting for a storm to break. Kael stood at the village's perimeter, his eyes sharp and muscles coiled like a predator's. His every sense was attuned to the faintest sound, the slightest movement. Tracking was not just a skill, it was survival. The slightest misstep could mean disaster for the entire tribe. He knelt by a patch of disturbed earth. The footprints were fresh, deep and heavy, unlike any animal Kael had seen before. The shape was unfamiliar, the pressure immense. It was the silent threat Eirik had foreseen, the shadow from the dream seer's vision. This was no ordinary beast. This was a predator on the hunt. Kael's mind raced through what he knew of the jungle's dangers. The massive herbivores were slow but deadly if provoked. Carnivores were cunning and fierce, but usually left tracks and sounds that gave them away. This creature, however, seemed to move with unnerving stealth, leaving barely a trace. He gathered the tribe's hunters and shared what he'd found. The elders listened with furrowed brows, and Lyra prepared the sacred fire, readying it to burn brighter against the encroaching threat. Torin tightened the bindings on his shield, his muscles flexing with anticipation, while Nyra checked her stores of healing herbs, knowing that soon they might be needed more than ever. The tribe decided to send Kael deeper into the jungle, beyond the usual hunting grounds. His mission was clear: track the beast, learn its habits, and find a way to protect their home. The forest closed around him like a living wall as he moved, every step calculated, every breath measured. Time seemed to stretch as Kael followed the faintest signs: broken twigs bent under enormous weight, scratches on tree trunks, and the occasional echo of a distant roar. The beast was out there, watching, waiting. Kael felt the silent gaze upon him, but remained steady, the calm heart of the tribe's defense. His journey led him to a clearing, bathed in dappled sunlight. Here, the footprints became clearer, and signs of a recent kill lay scattered, massive bones crushed and picked clean. The creature was not just a threat. It was a force that could change the balance of life in the jungle forever. Kael paused, listening to the jungle's whispers. He understood that hunting this beast would require more than skill. It demanded courage, unity, and the combined strength of the hidden survivors. This was not a challenge for one, but for all. With a deep breath, he began marking his path back to the village, knowing that what he had discovered was only the beginning. The silent threat was no longer hidden. It was a shadow over their lives, a test that would define their fate. Back at the village, the tribe prepared. Lyra's fire burned higher, casting long shadows that flickered like ancient spirits protecting the tribe. Torin stood guard, his shield a steadfast barrier against fear. Nyra gathered herbs to soothe wounds that might yet come, and Eirik's eyes glowed with visions of the battle ahead. The jungle was alive with danger, but so were the hidden survivors. Together, they would face the unknown, their courage a beacon against the dark. If this tale of bravery and stealth has captured your heart, remember to like, share, and subscribe. The fight to protect the hidden survivors has just begun, and every step forward is a story worth telling. The forest canopy filtered the sunlight into scattered beams, casting mysterious patterns on the jungle floor. Every sound was magnified in this vast green cathedral: the rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, even the quiet snap of a twig underfoot. Kael moved carefully, his senses sharper than ever, knowing that the silent threat was closer now, watching from the shadows. The deeper Kael ventured, the more signs of the creature appeared: bent branches, enormous footprints pressed into the soft earth, and strange markings on the trees that hinted at territorial battles. These signs told a story of power and dominance, but also of cunning intelligence. This was no mindless beast. It was a hunter, a shadow that ruled the jungle unseen. Kael's training told him that understanding the enemy meant more than tracking its movements. He needed to read its patterns, predict its strikes, and discover its weaknesses. The jungle was a maze of dangers, but Kael was a master of its secrets. He slipped silently through the undergrowth, every muscle ready, every breath steady. He paused near a clearing and observed something unexpected, the remains of a recent kill, but not made by claws or teeth. The bones were shattered, crushed under immense force, the kind only a creature of great size and strength could wield. This beast was not just stalking the village, it was establishing itself as the apex predator. Kael's mind raced. Could the tribe's knowledge and weapons be enough? The spear, the fire, the shield, they were powerful, but against this creature they felt fragile. The jungle had shifted, and survival meant adaptation. The tribe needed a plan beyond simple defense. Suddenly, a distant roar shattered the stillness, echoing through the trees like a thunderclap. Kael froze, heart pounding, eyes scanning the shadows. The roar was both a challenge and a warning, a reminder that this beast was not just an animal, but a force of nature itself. He pressed forward, determined to gather every scrap of information the jungle would give him. The path wound deeper, and Kael's steps grew more deliberate. Every footprint, every broken branch was a clue, a fragment of the puzzle he had to solve before the threat reached the village. As night began to fall, the jungle's sounds changed. The daytime chorus of birds and insects quieted, replaced by the eerie calls of nocturnal creatures. Kael set up a small camp, lighting a careful fire, its glow small but defiant against the encroaching darkness. He knew the danger did not sleep. In the firelight, Kael thought of the tribe, their hopes, their fears, their strength. They relied on him, on his skill and courage. The weight of responsibility settled heavy on his shoulders, but it steeled his resolve. Failure was not an option. The night stretched on, thick with silence and anticipation. Kael kept watch, listening for the faintest whisper of movement. The jungle was alive with secrets, and the silent threat was patient, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This was more than a hunt. It was a test of will, of wisdom, and of unity. Kael understood that the true battle was not just with the beast, but with the fear that threatened to consume them all. With the first light, Kael prepared to move again. The jungle held its breath, and so did he. The hidden survivors depended on his silent steps, his quiet strength, and his unyielding spirit. The shadow in the canopy was waiting, but Kael was ready to face it. If you feel the tension and the courage of Kael's journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The story of the hidden survivors is just beginning, and every heartbeat counts. Nightfall descended upon the hidden survivors like a thick velvet curtain, swallowing the jungle in a cold, creeping darkness. In these moments, when shadows grew long and every rustle could be the prelude to danger, the tribe's survival hinged on one vital force: fire. And none guarded that sacred flame better than Lyra, the fire whisperer. Lyra moved through the village with quiet determination, her hands steady despite the flickering light. She was more than a keeper of fire. She was a guardian of hope, a beacon in the dark wilderness that surrounded them. Her knowledge of fire's power was unmatched, not just as a tool for warmth or cooking, but as a magical shield against the terrifying beasts that prowled beyond the tree line. Tonight was no ordinary evening. The air carried a tension that Lyra felt deep in her bones, a restless energy that whispered of threats lurking just beyond the glow of their hearths. The tribe's elders had spoken of a darkness growing, a coldness in the wind that seemed unnatural. Lyra's heart beat faster, knowing that her role was about to become more crucial than ever. She began the ritual, a series of ancient chants passed down through countless generations. The words flowed from her lips like a song, soft yet commanding, weaving through the night air as she circled the fire pit. Sparks danced and flames leapt higher, as if responding to her call. The fire was alive, a living spirit that demanded respect and care. Lyra's eyes glowed with a fierce light, reflecting the flames she tended. Her connection to the fire was almost sacred, a bond that went beyond the physical. She understood its rhythms, its moods, and its needs. To the tribe, the fire was a friend and a protector, driving back the cold and the fear alike. Beyond the village's boundaries, the jungle whispered in the dark. Eyes glinted in the shadows, and unseen creatures stirred, drawn to the warmth and light. But the fire held them at bay, a barrier no claw or tooth dared cross. Lyra's magic wasn't just superstition, it was survival. The flames burned away the terror of the night, forging a safe haven where the tribe could rest. As she moved among the fires scattered throughout the village, Lyra checked each one carefully. A single ember lost could mean disaster, a breach for the lurking predators to exploit. She passed her hands over the flames, feeling their heat, listening to their crackle. Each flicker told a story, of danger averted, of warmth preserved, of life held firm against the encroaching dark. The firelight illuminated her face, revealing a mixture of calm and fierce determination. Lyra was young, but her spirit carried the weight of many ancestors. Her role demanded strength beyond physical power. It required wisdom, patience, and an unshakable belief in the tribe's enduring light. Suddenly, a faint noise reached her ears, a rustle different from the usual sounds of the jungle. Her hand instinctively moved toward the small dagger at her belt, but her voice rose in a steady chant, louder now, weaving through the night air like a spell. The flames responded, flaring higher and brighter, casting deep shadows that twisted and danced. The rustling ceased. The jungle held its breath, uncertain in the face of the blazing light and Lyra's unyielding will. She stood firm, a lone figure against the vast darkness, a symbol of resilience and hope. Inside the village, the people felt the power of her presence. Mothers gathered their children closer, warriors straightened their backs, and even the elders found renewed strength in the fire's glow. Lyra's flame was more than warmth. It was the heart of the hidden survivors, a light that could not be extinguished. As the night deepened, Lyra's thoughts drifted to the challenges ahead. The jungle was changing, the dangers growing bolder. The fire would need to burn brighter, and the tribe would need to be stronger. But she was ready. With each breath, she summoned the ancient power of the flames, knowing that as long as she stood watch, the darkness could never fully claim them. Her hands moved deftly, adding fresh wood to the fire, coaxing the embers into a fierce blaze. The smoke curled upward, carrying her prayers and hopes to the stars above. The night might be long, but the flame would not falter. If you feel the warmth and courage of Lyra's flame guarding the tribe through the dark, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The Hidden Survivor's story is far from over, and every spark counts in the fight for life beneath the ancient canopy. Torin stood at the edge of the village, the heavy weight of his shield resting firmly against his arm. His eyes scanned the dense jungle beyond, every sense alert to the slightest sign of danger. As the tribe's shield-bearer, Torin carried the immense responsibility of protecting the hidden survivors from the fierce creatures that prowled the prehistoric wilds. His shield was more than a tool of defense. It was a symbol of courage and strength, said to be blessed by the spirits of the forest, granting him power beyond that of ordinary men. The air was thick with tension. Rumors had reached the village that a new threat was approaching, something unlike any dinosaur they had faced before. Tracks too large for any known beast, broken trees crushed under immense weight, and a silence that carried a warning. The tribe looked to Taurin, their strongest warrior, to be their last line of defense. He took a deep breath, feeling the rough wood and worn leather of his shield beneath his fingers. The shield had been with him through countless battles, each scratch and dent telling a story of survival. Taurin's arms were powerful from years of training, his muscles honed for the brutal clashes that defined life in the jungle. His training was relentless. Every day began before dawn with rigorous drills, swinging his shield against trees, blocking simulated strikes, and building endurance until his body screamed for rest. But Taurin never wavered. He knew the tribe depended on him, not just for his strength, but for his unbreakable will. Tonight, as the sky darkened and the forest whispered its secrets, Taurin prepared for what might be the greatest challenge yet. His mind was steady, focused on the task ahead. The hidden survivors had survived for generations because of warriors like him, men who stood firm when the world threatened to collapse. He paced along the perimeter, checking the traps and barriers set by the tribe. Every spike, every camouflaged pitfall was a small hope to slow down the approaching danger. Yet, deep down, Taurin knew that no barrier could hold forever against the raw power of the jungle's deadliest beasts. As the moon climbed higher, casting silver light through the canopy, the first signs of movement appeared. Shadows shifted between the trees, massive shapes that bent branches and crushed underbrush. The ground trembled beneath heavy footsteps, each thud a reminder of the peril closing in. Taurin raised his shield, a silent challenge to the night itself. The tribe gathered behind him, their faces illuminated by the glow of the fires. Fear was present, but so was determination. Taurin's calm presence steadied them. He was the wall they needed, the shield that would not break. The attack came suddenly. A massive dinosaur, larger and more ferocious than any they had seen before, burst from the shadows. Its eyes burned with primal rage, and its roar shook the very earth. Taurin stepped forward, shield raised to meet the beast's charge. The clash was thunderous. Taurin's shield absorbed the creature's powerful blows, the force reverberating through his arms but never causing him to falter. With every strike, he pushed back, creating space for his people to retreat to safety. His movements were a blend of strength and strategy. He knew he couldn't defeat the beast by brute force alone. Instead, Taurin used his shield to guide the creature's momentum, redirecting its attacks toward traps hidden in the jungle floor. The beast faltered, stumbling into pits lined with sharpened stakes. Taurin seized the moment, calling to the tribe to join the fight. Armed with spears and makeshift weapons, they surged forward, coordinated and fierce. The battle was chaotic but purposeful, each member playing their part under Taurin's steady leadership. The giant creature roared in frustration but was gradually overwhelmed. Taurin's shield had not only protected his people, but had become the pivot around which their survival turned. When the last blow was struck, and the beast fell, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Taurin lowered his shield, his chest heaving with exertion. The tribe surrounded him, their cheers muted by exhaustion and relief. He looked at the faces of his friends, Kael, Lyra, Nyra, Eirik, and saw in their eyes the shared pride of having survived another night. But Taurin knew this victory was only a moment in a long struggle. The jungle would always test them, always challenge their strength and resolve. His role as shield-bearer was never finished. As dawn broke, painting the sky with soft hues of pink and gold, Taurin stood watch once more. The battle had been won, but the tribe's survival depended on constant vigilance and unyielding courage. If you felt the strength and courage in Taurin's stand, Please like, share, and subscribe to join us on the next step of the hidden survivor's journey. Together, we'll face every shadow the ancient world throws their way. Naira moved quietly through the forest, her steps light but purposeful as she searched for the rare herbs that only grew in the shaded depths of the jungle. The heavy air was thick with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers, but Naira's nose was tuned to the subtle hints of healing plants, the ones that could mend wounds and soothe fevered skin. In a world where danger lurked in every shadow and the threat of dinosaurs was never far, her knowledge was a lifeline for the hidden survivors. Her hands, rough from years of gathering and preparation, handled the leaves and roots with gentle care. Naira's gift was more than just knowledge. It was a deep connection to the life force of the jungle itself. She understood the language of the plants, their rhythms, and their secret strengths. For the tribe, she was a healer, a keeper of ancient wisdom passed down through countless generations. Back in the village, a young boy lay pale and feverish, his small body trembling. The tribe watched with worried eyes as Naira worked, crushing leaves and mixing poultices with practiced ease. She spoke softly, her voice carrying the calm assurance that healing was near. Her remedies were crafted from bitter roots and fragrant blossoms, each chosen for its unique power to fight pain, infection, or exhaustion. Naira's healing was not limited to the physical. She soothed fears and worries, using her presence to calm restless minds and aching hearts. The tribe depended on her not just for medicine, but for the quiet strength she brought in times of crisis. When the wild beasts roared near and the night seemed too dark, Naira's gentle hands reminded them that life endured, and healing was always possible. Her knowledge came from stories told by her grandmother, from the wisdom carved into stone and sung in the tribe's songs. Naira carried the weight of those teachings with humility, knowing that the jungle could take as easily as it gave. Every plant she gathered was a gift, every healing a delicate balance between the tribe and the wild world they shared. One morning, a scout returned with grave news: a hunter injured deep in the forest, bitten by a strange and venomous creature. Naira's heart tightened. The jungle held dangers beyond the massive dinosaurs, poisonous insects, unseen predators, and diseases that could strike without warning. Without hesitation, she gathered her tools and set out, determination etched on her face. The journey was long and treacherous. Naira moved swiftly, guided by the faint trail of broken twigs and scattered leaves left by the injured hunter. Along the way, she stopped to gather rare herbs with potent healing properties: bitterwort to reduce fever, fireleaf to cleanse wounds, and calming root to ease pain. When she found the hunter, his skin was pale and swollen, eyes flickering with fevered confusion. Naira's touch was firm but kind as she cleaned the wound and applied her carefully prepared poultices. She whispered ancient words, prayers for strength and recovery, calling on the spirits of the forest to aid her efforts. As night fell, Naira stayed by the hunter's side, feeding him herbal teas and monitoring his breathing. She knew the path to healing was long and uncertain, but her confidence never wavered. The jungle's secrets were hers to wield, and she would fight to preserve every life in the tribe. Returning to the village with the hunter's strength slowly returning, Naira was greeted with quiet gratitude. Her work was never done. There would always be wounds to heal, fears to calm, and life to protect. In a world dominated by giants and wild power, Naira's healing hands were a beacon of hope and resilience. The tribe's survival depended not just on strength and cunning, but on the quiet power of knowledge and care. Naira's garden was more than a place. It was the heart of their hope. If Naira's gentle courage touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. Stay with us as the hidden survivors continue to face the giants with every strength they possess. Night draped the jungle in shadows, the thick canopy above barely allowing the moonlight to seep through. Around the flickering fire, the village lay hushed, wrapped in the quiet tension that often came before a storm. In the center, Eirik sat cross-legged, eyes closed, breathing steady but deep, as if he was sinking into another world. This was the time when his visions came, the moments when the boundary between waking and dreaming blurred. Eirik was the tribe's dream-seer, a role both revered and feared. His dreams were not mere flights of fancy, but messages from the unseen world, the whispers of danger, the shifting patterns of fate, and the secrets hidden in the winds. For as long as the hidden survivors had lived among the dinosaurs, Eirik's visions had guided them, giving them the edge between life and death. On this night, the dreams came vivid and urgent. He saw dark shapes moving silently through the jungle, giant beasts whose eyes glowed like embers in the night. He felt the earth tremble beneath their weight, heard the echo of their calls carried on the wind. But more than that, he saw cracks forming in the village's defenses, moments when the hunter's stealth might fail, when the flames might flicker and die. His eyes opened slowly, pupils dilated with the intensity of what he had witnessed. Eirik rose and moved to the fire, his voice low and steady as he spoke to the gathered tribe. "The shadows are longer tonight," he warned. "The beasts grow bolder, and their hunger is sharp. We must be vigilant. The danger approaches, unseen but certain." The tribe listened intently, understanding that Eirik's words were not simply warnings but calls to action. His dreams had saved them before, revealing ambushes, guiding hunts, and revealing paths through the jungle that even the fiercest predator had not dared to cross. Eirik's gift was not only in seeing the future, but in interpreting the symbols that came wrapped in mystery. His visions were filled with signs, twisting vines that choked the sunlight, the howl of a distant beast, the shimmer of scales beneath the water's surface. Each element held meaning, a puzzle to solve that could tip the balance of survival. That night, Eirik led a small group into the depths of the jungle, seeking the signs that haunted his dreams. The air was thick and humid, alive with the buzzing of insects and the rustling of leaves. Every sound was amplified in the silence that surrounded them. Eirik's senses were sharp, tuned by years of practice and the deep connection he held with the spirit world. As they moved deeper, Eirik paused, pointing to fresh claw marks gouged into the bark of a towering tree. The size was unlike any dinosaur they had tracked before, wider, deeper, more menacing. His heart quickened. This was the creature from his dreams, the silent threat stalking their home. The group followed the trail, careful to avoid breaking twigs or rustling the underbrush. The jungle seemed to close around them, a living maze full of secrets and dangers. Eirik's visions guided them, his mind piecing together the story hidden in every footprint, every broken branch. At a clearing, they found the remnants of a recent hunt, scattered bones and torn flesh that told a grim tale. The predator was close, hungry, and growing more confident. Eirik knelt and touched the earth, closing his eyes once more, seeking a deeper connection to the land and its spirits. His whisper was a prayer, a plea for guidance and protection. Returning to the village, Eirik shared his findings and urged the tribe to strengthen their watch and prepare for the coming trials. His dreams were a warning, a glimpse into a danger that was not yet fully understood but already casting its shadow over their lives. As dawn broke and light spilled through the trees, the tribe set to work, each member embracing their role with renewed purpose. Eirik's dreams had reminded them of the fragility of their existence and the strength they needed to face the challenges ahead. In a world where giants ruled the land and the night held unknown terrors, Eirik's visions were a beacon, offering hope, insight, and the chance to survive another day. If you feel the power of Eirik's whispered warnings, please like, share, and subscribe. Join us as the hidden survivors navigate the dangerous path between dream and reality. The jungle was alive with quiet sounds, each one telling a story only Kael could understand. His breath was steady, his footsteps light, blending into the symphony of rustling leaves, distant bird calls, and the subtle snapping of twigs under unseen feet. This was the world he knew best, the world where silence was more powerful than any shout, and patience was the sharpest weapon a hunter could wield. Tonight, the air was thick with tension. The tribe had lost another member, taken by the silent threat that stalked their borders. Kael's task was clear: find the beast before it found them again. No easy feat, for the jungle was vast, and their enemy cunning beyond measure. Moving like a shadow himself, Kael traced the signs left behind: crushed foliage, broken branches, deep footprints pressed into the muddy earth. His eyes, sharp and unblinking, caught every detail. He read the land as a book, every mark telling where the creature had been, where it was going, and what it hunted. As he followed the trail, Kael's mind was a calm sea, steady and focused. He knew the danger was close because the signs grew fresher, the broken twigs snapped less than moments ago, and the faint odor of musk hung in the air, a scent he had learned to associate with death. Hours passed like this, each step deliberate, each breath measured. The moon, a silver sentinel above, cast eerie light on the jungle floor, painting shadows that danced like ghosts. Kael paused beside a small creek, kneeling to study the muddy water's edge. Here, the prints were unmistakable, clawed, heavy, and uneven. He remembered the tales the elders told, stories of a beast unlike any other, a creature whose scales shimmered like armor, and whose jaws could crush bone as easily as twigs. The silent threat had become a legend whispered around the fire, a name spoken only in fearful reverence. But Kael was not one to be stopped by fear. He was the quiet tracker for a reason. His skill was born of years spent in these woods, learning the language of the wild, training his senses to perceive what others could not. Tonight, that training would be tested like never before. Ahead, the trail led to a clearing rimmed by towering ferns and ancient trees. Kael crouched low, blending into the shadows, his eyes scanning every inch for movement. His hand rested on the hilt of his spear, ready to strike, his body coiled like a spring. The silence was suddenly broken, not by a roar or a shout, but by a soft, almost imperceptible sound. A low growl, the rustling of heavy breath, the faint scrape of claws on stone. The beast was here, just beyond the trees. Kael's heart beat steadily, unshaken. He knew that to rush in blindly would be death. Instead, he moved with deliberate care, inching closer while keeping to the shadows. His mind mapped every possible escape, every advantage he could use. As he neared, the creature emerged, a massive predator, larger than any he had seen, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Its scales reflected the moonlight like dark jewels, its muscles rippling with power. It sniffed the air, unaware of Kael's presence but alert, a silent hunter itself. Kael waited for the perfect moment. Then, with lightning speed born of patience and skill, he hurled his spear. The weapon flew true, striking the beast's flank. It howled, a sound that shook the trees and echoed through the jungle. But the fight was far from over. The beast turned, fury blazing in its eyes, and charged. Kael met it head-on, shield raised, spear poised. The clearing became a battlefield, silent but deadly, where every movement was a test of strength and will. Their struggle was fierce and brief. Kael's training and instincts kept him alive, dodging the crushing jaws and lethal claws, striking where the creature was vulnerable. Finally, with one final blow, the beast collapsed, the silent threat ended. Breathing heavily, Kael stood over the fallen predator. The jungle around him seemed to hold its breath. The danger passed for now. He gathered his spear and turned back to the village, knowing his success was more than just a hunt. It was hope. Kael's silent approach had saved his tribe from another night of terror. But he knew this was only the beginning. In a world ruled by giants and shadows, survival depended on courage, skill, and the quiet strength of those willing to face the unknown. If you felt the tension of Kael's hunt in the shadows, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join us for the next chapter in the hidden survivor's journey. Their story is just beginning, and the dangers they face are only growing stronger. The night air was thick and heavy, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant rain. The jungle around the hidden survivors was alive with muted sounds, whispers of leaves in the breeze, the gentle call of a night bird, the faint rustle of small creatures moving unseen in the darkness. But beneath these natural murmurs, a deeper tension thrummed, an unspoken fear that wrapped around the village like a shadow. Lyra stood at the edge of the tribe's fire circle, her hands steady despite the weight of the night pressing down on her. The sacred flame she tended flickered and danced, casting warm light that pushed back the dark, its glow a small island of safety in the vast wilderness. This fire was more than warmth. It was protection, a barrier between life and the lurking dangers beyond. The tribe relied on her, not just for the physical heat, but for the ancient magic she wielded, a legacy passed down through generations. Lyra's voice rose in a low chant, words in a language older than the trees around her, calling on the spirits of fire and light to guard their home. Her eyes closed, her breath slow and measured. She became one with the flickering flames, drawing strength from their wild energy. Tonight was different. The losses had piled up. Friends, family, the bright laughter of children silenced too soon. The fire had kept them safe before, but the silent threat prowled closer, testing their defenses, pushing boundaries. Lyra knew the power of the flame must grow, or the tribe might be swallowed by darkness. Her fingers traced symbols in the air, shapes that shimmered briefly like embers before fading into the night. Each movement was precise, ritualized, a dance of hope and defiance. The fire responded, growing stronger, its warmth deepening, casting longer shadows that stretched like protective arms around the village. As she worked, her thoughts wandered to the others, the steady strength of Torin guarding the perimeter, Kael's silent footsteps tracking threats through the trees, Nyra's gentle hands healing wounds, and Irik's quiet visions weaving warnings through their plans. They were all pieces of a fragile puzzle, united by a shared will to survive. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed from the jungle's edge, a branch breaking under heavy weight. Lyra's eyes snapped open, the chant halted mid-phrase. The fire's light seemed to flicker uncertainly, as if sensing the approaching danger. Her heart quickened, but she stood firm, the flame a beacon of courage. She could see movement now, shadows twisting between the trees, shapes that didn't belong to the gentle creatures of the night. The silent threat was near, testing the fire's power. Lyra whispered an urgent call, and the tribe stirred, alert to her signal. With a steady hand, Lyra grabbed a bundle of dry twigs and cast them into the fire. The flames surged, roaring to life, crackling loudly, sending sparks swirling like fireflies into the dark. The jungle seemed to recoil, the unseen predators held back by the ancient magic and raw heat. The tribe gathered close, drawn by the fire's light and Lyra's calm strength. Faces illuminated by the dancing flames showed weariness, fear, but also determination. They knew the fire was their shield tonight, a sacred trust carried by the fire whisperer. Lyra's chant resumed, stronger now, a song of light and protection. The fire pulsed in rhythm with her words, a living force that pushed shadows away. The silent threat howled somewhere beyond the fire's reach, frustrated by the barrier it could not cross. Minutes stretched like hours as the tribe held their vigil, watching the flickering boundary between safety and the wild unknown. Lyra's presence was a steady anchor, her connection to the flame a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could burn bright. As dawn crept slowly over the horizon, the fire softened, its fierce glow mellowing to warm embers. The jungle grew quiet again, the silent threat retreating into the depths where it belonged. The tribe exhaled as one, their breaths mingling in the cool morning air. Lyra knelt by the fire's dying light, her hands tracing the last sparks. She felt the weight of the night lift, replaced by the promise of a new day. The flame would be rekindled tonight, and every night after, as long as she lived and the tribe survived. In the heart of the jungle, beneath endless skies, the fire whispered its eternal promise. As long as it burned, the hidden survivors would endure. If Lyra's courage and the tribe's unbreakable spirit moved you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter of their journey through the wild and dangerous world they call home. The first light of dawn spilled softly across the village, painting the jungle in gentle hues of gold and green. The oppressive weight of the night was lifting, replaced by a fragile hope carried on the morning breeze. The hidden survivors stirred, their faces worn but alive with the promise of another day. Kael emerged from the dense thicket, his eyes sharp yet tired. The hunt had been long and perilous, but the silent threat that haunted their nights was no longer a mystery. He carried with him the marks of the trail, broken branches, disturbed earth, faint footprints, all signs that led to the source of the danger. Lyra moved through the village with quiet grace, tending to the dying embers of the sacred fire. The flame had been her shield and her weapon, a guardian in the darkest hours. Now, as the light grew, she whispered words of thanks to the spirits, promising to keep the fire burning bright for all who depended on it. Torin stood at the village's edge, his broad shoulders squared and ready. The nights had tested his strength and resolve, but his spirit remained unbroken. His shield, weathered yet unyielding, reflected the new day's light as he scanned the horizon, vigilant for any sign of returning peril. Nyra's hands were gentle but sure as she moved among the tribe, tending to wounds both fresh and old. Her knowledge of the jungle's herbs and roots was a balm to more than just the body. It soothed the spirit, knitting the tribe's fragile courage back together. Eirik sat beneath the ancient tree, eyes closed in quiet meditation. His dreams had warned them of the danger, but they had also revealed a path forward, a way to not just survive, but to thrive amid the giants that ruled the land. His visions now carried a new message: unity, strength, and a future forged by their own hands. Together, the five gathered in the heart of the village, a circle of resilience and hope. Their eyes met with unspoken understanding. Each had played a vital role in facing the darkness. Each had learned and grown through the trials. The jungle around them seemed to breathe anew, the once ominous shadows retreating before the rising sun. The tribe's songs began softly, voices lifting in harmony, a celebration of survival and the unyielding bond that tied them together. Though the threat had been fierce, it had also forged them stronger. The hidden survivors were no longer just a secret tribe hiding in fear. They were warriors of the wild, masters of the jungle's rhythm, and keepers of an ancient flame that would never be extinguished. As the day unfolded, plans were made to fortify the village, to teach the younger ones the lessons learned in blood and fire, and to prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. The silent threat might return, but now the tribe faced it as one, armed with knowledge, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of those who refused to be broken. This dawn was not just an end to a long night. It was the beginning of a new chapter, where the hidden survivors would carve their place in a world ruled by giants, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity's light could shine through the darkest shadows. If you felt the strength of their journey and the hope that guides them, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow the hidden survivors as their story continues to unfold, step by step, through the wild and untamed world they call home.